Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Olade Consulting Monthly PM Roundtable. My name is Adeyemi. I'm the CEO at Olade Consulting. If you're joining us for the first time, Olade Consulting is a management consulting firm specializing in IT professional services in the areas of staffing, training, and project delivery services. So we do connect IT professionals to opportunities within the industry, and we also provide training and employment placement services for individuals that are looking to transition into the fields of project management and or business analysis. Our mandate for the PM Roundtable is to provide a unique opportunity for our IT professional community to network, share information, and present opportunity for career growth. And we certainly hope that today's roundtable will further that agenda. On today's roundtable, our topic for today is beyond goal setting, achieving your career goals for 2023 and beyond. And we have a wealth of experience and knowledge on the call today. And so we're going to get right into the conversation. It's interesting, as we're getting into this conversation, one thing that's jumping out to me is the concept of why this topic, why goal setting, what's important about goal setting. And, I'm just going to take this back to a quote from Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek's book starts with why. So which states, people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. So my question for you, Floyd, is why is goal setting important?
Great question and great quote from Simon Sinek. Yeah, Simon Sinek is right. People don't buy products. People buy results. People don't buy features. People buy benefits. People want a change and a transformation, and so he's right. However, that's just part of the story, because the truth is there can be a why without a what. If you have a purpose, if you have a mission, there has to be a what. So there has to be some goals in the process, and then we want to find out, why is this so important? What's the motive? What's the reason behind it? But here's the other thing about this addict. When we set goals, we have clarity. When we set goals, we have better focus. But the biggest thing about goal setting is that it helps us to grow and become a different person. Because here's the thing. In order for you to get what you've never had, you have to become who you have never been. So once you set especially audacious goals, you cannot achieve those goals being the same person. So you have to grow into becoming a different person in order to hit those goals. So that is why goal setting is so important. It creates motivation, drive, it creates focus, it creates clarity, but it also helps us to grow. And without a what, there can't be any why anyway.
Well, interesting. That's very powerful. It's really interesting when you said you have to be a different person. And I read a book recently from Bob Proctor. It's called Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life. And the premise of the book is that, people operate in a certain paradigm based on their experience, based on their background, and that in order for you to achieve these audacious goals and things that some of these big goals, you almost have to be a different person. You perhaps create a new persona that will be that new person that wants to achieve those goals. And it means you're moving at at another pace that you're currently operating as. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. 100%.
We're going to go to you next. We're still going to be talking about, the concept of goal setting and why it's important and some of the things that we need to know about goal setting. Question for you, Japnit, is what are your tips for goal setting and or practice for achieving your goals?
Yeah, great question. So when it comes to goal setting, there's a concept that is used very regularly when it comes to performance management, and just a regular process in the professional world. It's called SMART goals, And that's really just taking a step back, looking at your goals and providing the simplicity that you need to actually put them into action. So what SMART actually stands for is making sure your goals are specific, clear and well-defined, measurable, via a completion date or a dollar amount. Essentially, how are you going to measure the success of the goal that you've set? For the next one is attainable. Is it actually possible to achieve that goal? And the R is for relevant. Is it relevant to the direction that you're looking to go in, whether it's from a career perspective or your personal life, depending on how you're setting these goals? And finally, the last one is time bound. And that's essentially around the deadline that you're setting to achieve that goal. It's really important to have that holistic picture in terms of what are you trying to accomplish. A few of my personal tips that I try to practice when it comes to goal setting myself are ensuring that I write it down. That it kind of makes it permanent, something that I can go back to in a way to refer back to, whether it's tracking it or a consistent reminder in terms of this is what I'm trying to accomplish. And it can be in the form of just a to-do list, if you're using any specific tools, or if you're putting together a vision board in terms of this is the goal that I'm trying to accomplish. Another thing that I love to do when it comes to goal setting, and something that I do practice at work with my team as well, is breaking it down and developing a plan. It's great to have a goal, but how are you actually going to accomplish it? Oftentimes we have that goal and we're so focused on achieving it, we kind of miss the process of how we're going to get there, the factors involved into getting there. So I personally love working backwards, going, this is the goal, this is what the ideal state is going to look like, but what am I going to have to do to get there? What steps do I need to take? What are some of the roadblocks that I might encounter? And that helps you put together that holistic plan of how I'll get there. And finally, the last one is really taking the time to reflect and adjust often. There's so many different factors, both from a career perspective and a personal life perspective, that life happens, and sometimes we need to take a pause to make sure that we're not starting to feel burnt out with a goal. Ensuring that goal it doesn't seem unachievable at some point, and sometimes things might seem out of sync. So how can you refocus and come back to the why or the purpose that you're trying to accomplish?
Well, excellent. And it's interesting that you ended by talking about the why, the purpose, and which is extremely important when we talk about purpose and why. Great tips here, SMART goals. Make sure you write down your goals, break them down. For me personally, I love breaking down my goals. I have my to-do list on a daily basis or on a regular basis. And the more I check items, the more momentum I get when as I check those to-do list items on my list. Great share, Japanese. We're going to keep talking about this. This is going to be fun. Again, we strongly encourage that everyone participate, join the conversation, share your questions through the chat. We're going to keep this going. My next question is to you, Chirag. Are there any specific areas one should focus on when it comes to goal setting? And again, two parts actually. My first part is, are there any specific areas one should focus on when it comes to goal setting? The second part talks about how many goals should one set at a time? Is there any limit as to the goals that you want to achieve?
Okay, so I got to give you the magic formula, basically. I guess the disclaimer has to be that I think Floyd and Japanese are the true experts in this field. I'm more going to share my perspective, and hopefully that's somewhat useful, right? So what I do is I typically split it between like career and personal, and I have like 3 to 5 critical goals in each sort of category. But I mean, I think it's going to work very differently for each individual, right? So if you're going back to the why of goal setting for me is like a prioritization exercise at the start of the year. Like, what do I care about? And I can think about that from a career perspective, like what do I want to achieve this year? And from a personal perspective, and that could be being healthy or working out, spending quality time with your family. And then I think if you can just start with making a list of your priorities, that at least gives you a sense in life that you're consciously understanding that. Because I think sometimes we all operate a little bit in auto mode, like something comes up today, so that's important, I got to do that today. No, tomorrow this came up, I got to do that. And I think sometimes we just get stuck without kind of moving in the right direction. So I think what this helps you do is to figure out what your priorities are. So when you make decisions on a micro daily basis, you're making them in a way that fits with this big picture of the life you want, right? So that's my why. So the way I would think about it is, think about all your priorities and the things you want to achieve this year, and then think about what is realistic, right? Like how much of that can you actually spend time? Because time is finite. We all have the same amount, right? One exercise that I did a couple of years ago, I think, was just to start allocating, like a consultant, I had that experience. So I would allocate time to my goal tasks. So then I started tracking, and I'm like, so how am I prioritizing? Then how do I shift that? So I think that's maybe not everybody can do that right away, but I think that the idea is to think about your goals in terms of the time you have available and what can you realistically achieve, and then prioritizing. So picking the top 5, 10, 20, depending on the type of person you are. So I would think about it a bit more personal than answering like, this is the template, 3 goals is the best way. I think it depends on you are. Think about your priorities, think about the time you have, and go about it that way.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for the share, Chirag. It's interesting when you said you have your overall purpose and you look at that bigger picture of things you're trying to achieve, but then you allow that influence your day-to-day micro decision making, because again, it's interesting because a lot of people go with the flow and we're somewhat on autopilot and we're making decisions without even recognizing that we're making those decisions. But then if your decisions are guided by that main purpose, that ultimate, why that and again, I think the Japanese talked about writing down your goals, revisiting your goals, because they help guide the way we do things. Exciting stuff. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep it going. Our next round of question we're going to start with you first, Japanese. And this is regarding, someone that's gotten off track with their goal. So what advice do you have for someone who's gotten off track with their goal? And that's part one. Part two is, how does one stay motivated and accountable while trying to achieve their goal?
Yeah, good question. I think we're going to keep coming back to this concept of why and your purpose. And, I think it's really important to recall your intention and remind yourself of the why. Oftentimes we get so caught up in the weeds, and it's easy to lose sight of the goal in itself. And it kind of relates to what Chirag just shared as well. Oftentimes when you're in a corporate environment, a lot of the work-related goals that you have, they're driven by the organization. But I think it's important to take charge to drive the personal goals that you've set for yourself, but also see how those organizational goals that you might be working on, or those career-related goals, how they work into the big picture as well. So again, constantly coming back to the why is very important. I also think if you feel like you've started to get off track, it's important to reassess your action plan. Does it still make sense in terms of the direction that you're heading and what you're trying to achieve? It's really good to reflect in terms of, did you hit any roadblocks? What might be causing those roadblocks? And a change in direction. Have you considered what other options there are available when that roadblock when you do feel like you've gotten stuck? And I think it's really important to also be kind to yourself. It's so easy for us to get distracted and start heading into different directions. Like I mentioned earlier, things happen, but kind of being mindful of why you're on this journey and why. And so it's really important to ground yourself as well. Coming back to that why. Another recommendation I think I could offer is breaking the goal down into mini goals. That also helps. Sometimes it's all you need to do is hit that check mark and get re-jazzed or get re-excited about the goal. And then there's also a lot of power in collaboration and brainstorming with others. Sometimes we just need to talk things through. If you have a network that you can rely on, I would highly recommend that.
Well, that's really, really great share, Japanese. It's really interesting because that's a really big challenge when it comes to goal setting. And, especially this time of the year when people have a laundry list of things that they're trying to achieve, goals, resolutions, if you may. And, somehow, perhaps a few months later, we're going in a different direction, just to the point that we talked, Chirag was saying around autopilot, because you have these goals. And I know Floyd talked about the fact that you have to be a different person, almost have to be a different person, because you get excited at this time of the month, of the year, when you set those goals, and then a few months later you're off track. And staying motivated, staying on track, like you said, Japanese, requires finding, brainstorm, collaborating. Maybe you have an accountability partner, someone that helps you keep track of your goals, someone that helps you stay honest with your goals. And obviously, and also, like you said, the big why, the driving force, which is what really drives whatever it is that we're doing. Thank you so much for the share. We're going to go to you next, Chirag. And question for you, this is a pretty interesting one, because just brings about, to put some perspective, there's a saying that goes, go big or go home. And on the flip side, there are people that opine that we should take baby steps to achieve our goals. No, these are some conflicting ideologies here. Do you recommend setting smaller goals, or risk failure by setting higher ones?
I think it depends, right? I know that's never a good answer, but I think it depends on where you are and what the type of person you are, right? So if this is your first time, like, thinking about goal setting, it might be a bit overwhelming to perceive the idea that you're not going to achieve them, right? Even if you're setting them up for the first year and thinking about the first mini goal, like Japanese said, in your first 3 months. So then maybe you should incline towards being more less ambitious, but more realistic. But if you've been doing this for the last couple of years, and maybe you've achieved them, and you maybe you're not setting your goals high enough, right? So I think it depends on the type of person you are, how you deal with failure, but also how far you are in this journey of, and the comfort level you have in this journey of setting goals and sort of keeping discipline, right? I think that's sort of an important criteria. One thing I would say, and I think people much smarter than me have said this, and it's sometimes true when you start doing this exercise, what you realize is that, like, a year is a long time, right? And we underestimate how long a year is, right? We underestimate how a little actions can really build up momentum towards, like, to Floyd's perspective, almost become a different person at the end of that year. So I think you underestimate the power of ourselves to kind of keep on that journey. So personally, I think it does help to set ambitious goals, because you want to really try to achieve a lot in a year. And then, like, to Japanese point, maybe you set mini goals that if you achieve those mini goals, you're going to get to the end state that you want, right? So I think that combination sort of keeps it realistic. And then if on month 3, your mini goal for month 3 is sort of, this doesn't seem realistic anymore, then you can sort of go and adjust. I don't think goal setting, like anything in life today, has to be like a one-time exercise. Then at the start of the year, it's done. I think a lot of the panelists have already said that, right? So if you think about it as an iterative process, I think being ambitious at the start and then readjusting is probably a healthy way to perhaps at least start going about it.
I love the fact that you use the word iterative process. I know some of the PMs on the call can relate to that, the concept of iterative process, and the fact that, even when we talk about project management and we're looking at these huge projects, and there's a whole lot of processes involved, there's a lot of stages involved, and it does progressively elaborate. And, that's similar to goal setting, because you understand that even if you have this audacious goal, now I think Japanese mentioned something about breaking your goals into, small, what's the word? Breaking them down into pieces that can be manageable. And that helps you better digest that huge goal. Now, I'm a big advocate of dream big, whatever it is that you want to achieve, dream big, but then be practical. Be ready to do the work that is required to get it done. Write down your goals, figure out how, start asking yourself questions, because again, what's really interesting, a lot of things I've learned in reading books, and I always recommend to folks that on this channel, we talk about the concept of reading books and how important it is to read books, because as much as we want to achieve goals, our mindset is key, and the way the mindset is shaped, it really, really changes everything. Your attitude, your makeup, your entire swagger, for lack of a better word. So we're going to talk about mindset here. My next question to you, Dr. Floyd, is twofold. Number one is, what is the correlation between self-belief / mindset and successfully achieving your goals? That's part one, self-belief and achieving your goals. And part two is, what kind of mindset should one have while goal setting or achieving or trying to achieve that goal?
Yeah, my mindset is very important. Strategy is just about 20% of success. Mindset is about 80%, could be more than that. Now, we are the product, or we become the stories we tell ourselves. Henry Ford once said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're usually right. Now, here's something else about the mindset. The mind is the intangible part of the brain. 95% of the mind's capacity is in the subconscious mind. 5% of the mind's capacity is in the conscious mind. We use the conscious mind to make decisions. That's where we have willpower. But 95% of our mind's capacity is where we house our belief and also what we think we can or can't do. So 95% of the time we are on autopilot. So we are doing things. We're walking home from work without thinking about it. We go to default mode when it comes to doing things. And so if we keep telling ourselves stories about what we can't do, 95% of the time when we attempt to pursue our goals, we find ourselves believing that we will not hit those goals, and consequently, we cannot succeed. Now, as it relates to the kind of mindset we should have a growth mindset. Carol Dweck talks about a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset says that our abilities are carved in stones. We cannot change the kind of person we are. But the growth mindset says, listen, we can grow, we can learn, we can overcome, we can take on challenges, we can beat the odds, we can do great things. I mean, we can't do everything in life because we can't be a bird, so we can't fly. But the goals we set, if we have the right mindset, a growth mindset, we push forward, we can accomplish those things. So it's very, very important for us to embrace a growth mindset as we pursue our goals in 2023 and beyond.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Floyd. Now, it's interesting, and I just want to stay with you here, Floyd. Now, there's a school of thought, and that believes that if you're trying to achieve a goal, say I want to be a manager, maybe I'm working in one capacity today, I want to be a manager, and I'm maybe perhaps interviewing for that managerial role. There's a school of thought that believes you almost have to wear that like your armor. Like you have to almost be that personality or that new role in order to be able to manifest that. What's your take on that thought process and how people, again, we're talking about mindset, also your attitude, your entire makeup in terms of achieving this one goal.
100%. Yeah, the person you will be, you're now becoming. And we generally move in the direction of our thoughts. So whatever thoughts you hold on to, the mind has a way of getting you to move towards that thought. If you hold a negative thought, the mind moves you towards that. Have you ever noticed that you thought about buying a Mercedes-Benz and all of a sudden you start seeing only Mercedes-Benz on the road? That's how the mind operates. So if you want to be a doctor, and I get my clients to do this, we go into the future, we talk about what they want to become or who they want to become. We come back in the present and we create what we refer to as an identity statement, a statement that speaks to the person that they want to be, but it's in the present tense, beginning with I am. We use that to recondition and program the subconscious mind, the 95% of the mind's capacity, and now they set out on a journey to become that person.
Interesting. Now we're talking about the subconscious mind, the mindset. It's almost like an operating system. The mind is an operating system, and you just put in this software, this ideas. They're coming from other software, and they're running in the background. So the more you feed that mind, the good stuff, the positive, the growth mindset. Again, the more you're changing your makeup and you're changing your thought process and your thinking faculty. Thank you so much, Dr. Floyd. We're going to stay, again, we're going to keep going. Again, we want this to be as interactive as possible. strongly recommend, if you do have any questions specifically to the panel, to any of the panelists, feel free to share in the chat. And if you have any question that you want direct to all the panelists, please feel free to do so. We're going to keep going here. And my next question is for you, Chirag. Chirag, this is a very interesting one because it says, research shows that one of the biggest challenges that people face in achieving their goals is procrastination. What is new? Procrastination, right? What tips do you have for people who are looking to overcome procrastination and, ultimately achieving their goals?
Adi, I feel like this is a pointed question because I've replied to your emails late before. So I feel like this is like I am a procrastinator, right? So this is a good question to ask me. Fair enough. For the purposes of this, I'll take it. I mean, I think the way I've overcome that, right, is planning and discipline. It sounds lame, but like planning in the sense that like I become this person that now blocks slots in my calendar for what I'm going to do. At least the next day, I have a clear plan. I'm not saying I have to I always follow that plan, but I blocked my calendar and I'm like, this task is going to take me 2 hours and then 1 hour and I have this call and this. So what that does is takes away decision fatigue from me. I come in the morning and I'm not thinking, what do I have to do? I just do it because I trust Chirag from yesterday to have set the right targets for me today. So I think taking away that decision fatigue for somebody like me as a procrastinator has really, really helped because it sort of forces me to kind of focus on the task that I have to do today. And again, because I have this sense of what my bigger picture is, I'm a bit deliberate and intentional about, is this call important? Do I need to be here? Does this fit with what I want to do this year? No, okay, let's try to cut it out. And I think as a personality who likes doing new things, I used to get a bit distracted as well. So sometimes we don't only procrastinate by sitting on our chair and doing nothing. We're procrastinating because we're focusing our time and energy on something else. And then when you have a clarity in the sense of like, why am I doing this? Then you tend to spend less time on that thing because now it's not fitting towards your whole goal, right? And then it comes down to discipline and execution, right? Like some days you don't want to go to the gym or you don't want to work. And that happens. But I think once you have a system of reward for that task, I think the starting is the hardest part because once you start working out, the first couple of months are the hardest because you're like, this is hard, I'm not getting any results, I still look like shit. But after 2-3 months, you start seeing results. And when you skip the gym for a couple of days, you feel the negative. And when you go back, you feel the reward. So I think what I would say is if once you get started, same with goal setting, once you start achieving your goals by doing the daily things and not procrastinating, you have that drive to continue going. So you just have to get over that starting hump. And I think the drive and discipline comes as a result of the results that you see. Hopefully that somewhat makes sense. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Chirag. And again, I think this is a very important piece when it comes to goal setting and achieving your goals. And I just want to bring in the rest of the panelists. If you feel free to chime in here. You said something about discipline and execution, very, very important. And one of the ways I think one thing that's also important is building momentum. And how do you build momentum? Is by just the point that you raised around breaking the goals down into those smaller pieces. As I get one done, I have this to-do list, I check one out, I build momentum. I feel good about that. Celebrating those small wins helps you build momentum. And there's something else I learned about the book I was reading by Bob Proctor, Change Your Paradigm. It talks about the concept of you almost have to change your mindset, which is kind of like your operating system, to be able to move at the wavelength of that new goal you're trying to achieve, which will then remind you, when you're trying to settle back into those patterns, those behaviors that we often fall back on, like Chirag said, autopilot mode. It's a reminder that, hey, look, if I need to achieve this goal, I need to move at a higher level. So I'm not sure if Jap needs, perhaps Floyd, if you guys want to chime in on this procrastination topic.
Yeah, I'll just say one thing. It's important to stick to it, right? Like nothing happens overnight, but it's important to stay the course. So it's really important to pivot if you need to, but also just constantly reminding yourself, just because you've set a goal, it's not magically going to happen. You have to put in the work to achieve it, but also remembering that you do have to stick to it. It's going to take work.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
And here's the thing. Most procrastinators are perfectionists, and it's perfectionism at work. A lot of procrastinators, they don't do because they want to get it right, but done is better than perfect. And so it's very important for you to keep going, build momentum by building on what you've already done, and understand that you will never get everything perfect. I've learned that especially people in engineering, they like to get things done perfectly. And so sometimes if it can't be perfect, they won't do it. Now, don't stop, keep going. I think it was MLK, the late MLK Jr., who said, if you can't fly, he said, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But whatever you do, keep moving.
Well, that's really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. And for me, my philosophy is always just get something done. People talk about working out, and you have this fitness goal. And I talk to my friends. I'm like, hey, look, listen, I'm just going to do 20 minutes. I know I've done 20 minutes today. I feel good about it. I feel like I'm making some great steps. Next day, maybe I do 10 minutes. Hey,
yeah.
And then the day after, maybe I do an hour. Again, the most important, just like the quote says, whatever, just keep moving, which is extremely important. We're going to stick with you here, Floyd. And the question here is, I find the next question very, very interesting. And it's around setback. And, is interesting. We can talk about some of these amazing things around goal setting, having that big why and having to write down your goals. But then people do experience setback. And so my question for you is, what should one do if they experience setback while trying to achieve their goal? For example, I don't meet my goals in my desired time frame. And I'm just going to make this more even very personal, because we understand the community of people that we're serving, and we have this IT professional group that we're serving. Often we come across people that are looking to transition into a new career, and they maybe have these goals of achieving those career transition and moving into this project management role or business analysis role. Now, 6 months down the line, things haven't materialized. And now, I'm wondering, how do I stay motivated? How do I stay positive? So maybe you can just share your thoughts around the experience when people go through setbacks and, and don't meet those goals within the desired time frame.
Great. Now, here's my framework for achieving goals. Plan, execute, review, refine, repeat. And in the midst of all of that, so should I go it over? You plan, you execute, you review, you refine, and you repeat. Now, also understand that life is difficult. And if you understand that life is difficult, then you will reach the point where you're not afraid of making mistakes and setbacks. Because the truth of the matter is, there can be no success without failures. But if you also think about failures or setback as an opportunity to grow, then you're going to find that you're going to be mentally tough. You're going to be able to bounce back, because a champion sees difficulties as an opportunity to grow. The darker the night is, the brighter your light will shine. So if you take a perspective, that kind of a perspective, as opposed to the average person who sees difficulties as a curse, or why is this happening to me? Why me? Who do you expect it to happen to? Me? So it's very important to embrace difficulties, learn from it, because every great innovation started out with a problem. So maybe the problem you're having is creating an opportunity for you to be the next world changer, the next game changer. Mindset shift, very important.
Well,
it's not happening to me, it's happening for me.
Well, thank you so much, Floyd. And again, just like I did with the previous question, I'm going to make this open for anyone that wants to chime in. I see Japney, you've unmute your mic there if you want to just chime in.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna completely agree with what Floyd said, but it's easier said than done, and I want to recognize that as well. But going back to what Dr. Floyd said in terms of just putting his plan in place, it's really important. That'll help you refocus as well constantly, because it's easy to be like, oh, why is this happening to me? Or it's hard to get into that mindset. So coming back to that plan is really important. I know it's something I struggle with as well. So it's just constantly reminding yourself.
Yeah, and can I just chime in there a little bit? And you're right. It's easier said than done. And here's why. There are three things we must do if we're going to really hit our goals, and if we're going to be what I refer to as a high performer. Most people, let me put it this way. There are three things you have to train. Number one, you have to train your craft. That is the job you do. You have to train your body. You go for a walk, you put the right food in, you get adequate sleep. But here is where a lot of people miss the boat: training your mind. 80% of your success is in the mindset. If you train your mind constantly on a daily basis, it becomes much easier for you to do what I just say earlier on. If you don't, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But training the mind ought to be a priority going forward, not just going to school, learning your craft, going to seminars and workshops to upgrade your skills, but the mindset has to be trained consistently. If not, weeds are going to take it out.
And Dr. Floyd, yeah, go for it.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
No, you just hit a gold mine, right? Like, you have to train your mind. In terms of training your mind, it's that constant practice. So what are some other tools that we can share with the group, right? Like, yes, you know your craft, but you can always make your craft better. There's always something to learn. There's always something new to learn. Yeah.
You want me to share those now or later? I could talk about
I actually have a question for you too, actually, Dr. Floyd. So maybe you can combine our questions. So it's funny, it's becoming a learning session for us, right? So what I'm curious about is, I think some people are naturally dispossessed, right? Or had disposition, to a positive mindset, right? Like, some people can daydream and think about the best outcomes and sort of focus their mind that way. Some people are not. So what I'm really curious about is that, have you seen that fundamental shift in a human being's life as part of the work that you do, where people go from being very negatively oriented, and that sort of affects their goal setting and their goal achievement, to having that shift in mindset?
200% shift. Because the strategies that I use in performance psychology will shift the mind completely once you do the work. All it's required for you to do is to really, every single day, make it your responsibility to train your mind. Some people they have the natural disposition towards positivity. Other people, their environment in which they grew up in, their culture, their context. Because listen, we're always being programmed. People are programming us. People are conditioning us. People tell us what we can't do when we were growing up as children. People tell us not to cry. People tell us you cry too much. People tell us you can't do that as a child. People tell us all kinds of things. The subconscious mind, 95%, is now shaped. So when we show up, no wonder why it's so difficult to do the right thing. So now, because you have been programmed by other people, it's important for you now to go and reprogram yourself so that you can go in the direction that you want to go. How do you do that? I'll talk about it shortly.
Okay, well, that's really exciting. Again, this is becoming more and more exciting. And I just want to comment on the comments by Dr. Floyd around adversity, difficulty is an opportunity. But I've also read something around adversity is an opportunity, presents an opportunity for growth. What that means is, when we go through adversity, when you will face a rejection, now that is the universe, or that is the circumstance that you're in, trying to tell you something. Maybe there's an area you need to improve upon. Maybe the job is not for you. Maybe because when you look at it, I think it's really important that we start, embracing some of these things. And when we talk about training your mind, I just want to take a quote from Jim Rohn that says, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Now, that is not to say you shouldn't show up for work. You shouldn't do work. But I think most people spend most of their time at work. But what they fail to do is spend time on themselves. Now, when people, and from the book from Rob Bob Proctor, in order to change your mindset, in order to be that new version of yourself that wants to achieve that goal, that wants to get that new job, wants that promotion, you need to consistently work on yourself. And as we work on ourselves and you have those list of goals that you're talking about, you're reviewing them and you're looking for ways to improve or work towards those goals, somehow there's a mental shift. There's a shift in mindset, and that shift in mindset starts aligning you towards those goals and things that you're trying to achieve. Again, great conversation. This is exciting. I know there's a part 2 of that question I didn't share. I'm not sure if everyone, if Dr. Floyd answered or any of the panelists got the chance. The part 2 of the question talks about how does one deal with negative mindset stemming from past failure and experiences. So I'm not sure if that was covered in your response. I'm just
Let me say more about that. So how does one deal with the negativity? Now, the negativity, where do they come from? Now, if you have let me put it this way. If you have a garden and you don't tend to your garden, what would happen to it? Automatically, we'd stake it up. As human beings growing up, we were conditioned by our environment, as I said before, by the things we have learned, the things we saw on TV, the stories we tell ourselves, because the experience we've seen in the classroom, in the boardroom, or wherever we saw it. And so we now hold on to a concept or a perception of life or a perception of the world, which is negative. In order for you to change that, because you have to now install a new software, so to speak. So you have to use affirmations. You have to use visualizations. You have to use reframing. Every single day, you tell yourself, this is who I am. Or, okay, you failed today. Yeah, I failed, but I am going to succeed. So you've got to challenge that inner critic, that inner voice, that negative self-talk, and you've got to override it with a positive self-talk. Because for every negative you say to yourself, you are going to require about 15 positives to neutralize it. This is a hard job. So every single day, it is going to be required for you to do some form of what we call positive self-talk, affirmations, visualizing yourself being the person you want to be. And if you consistently do that, over time, you're going to find yourself moving in the right direction. You can also pick up your one page with your goals on it every single day. Look at it. It reminds you of the person that you hope to become one day. That's going to be a game changer. That's been for all my clients, except none.
Oh, excellent. Well, thanks for sharing, Floyd. And I just want to, there's a comment in the chat, and this is it's not quite a question, but it's a comment by Busayo Moses, and I believe it states, I believe fear also hinders people from achieving their goals. Sometimes a person may have their goal or all planned out, but they're unable to achieve them because they've been crippled by fear. How, and I'll just throw this to all the panelists, how do we overcome fear? Sometimes I'm aspiring to take on a more leadership role or a senior level role, but I don't speak up in meetings. And or perhaps there's an opportunity that shows up. I feel I'm not good enough, and maybe due to past programming. I know Japanese, you have your mic on mute here. If you want to share some thoughts around how people overcome fear,
Yeah, I'll go first because Dr. Floyd's answer will hopefully tie it all together. But I'll talk from personal experience. I'm not the greatest when it comes to public speaking or presentations and articulating my thoughts very well. Especially in my role, it becomes very different, especially, being in the HR space, there's a number of different things that's on the go, and it's just not one of my strong suits. This is the second podcast I'm doing this week. It's taken me a long time to kind of break that shell, get comfortable having these conversations, being able to share thoughts. And you're not going to get it right the first time. It is this year. I've delivered very poor presentations in the past, but it's something that I know I need to get over in order to get to that next stage in my career, in order to get better at my trade, right? So It's finding ways to constantly push yourself and get out of their comfort zone that really helps when it comes to fear, for me anyways. So I'll leave it at that and let Dr. Boyd give the better explanation.
No, that's amazing. That's an amazing share. I'm not sure, Floyd, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, well, fear, it's important to redefine fear first and foremost. Fear is real, yeah, and fear is our internal security system telling us that we may be in danger. So assess the situation, and if you realize that it is legitimate, okay, protect yourself. But if not, it's important for you to confront your fear. It's a big deal. Confront your fear. Get a coach, get somebody who can help you manage it, but you have to confront your fear. We like people who are courageous. Why? Because they face their fear. And that's why we admire them. We just have to confront ours and push forward. Is it easy? No, it's not.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting one. And one thing I've also learned is around in a great share again, Japanese, regarding facing your fears. And one thing that I've learned is our mind, our brain naturally wants to be in a safe mode, in a comfort zone. So by putting my hand up and speaking in that meeting, or that taking on that public speaking. Thank you for accepting our invitation. We never thought you would be someone that had public. I think, yet again, this is a testament to the fact that overcoming your fears helps, you realize that it's an illusion when we don't want to do the things that we want to do because we fear judgment, or we fear that we're not maybe good enough, or we're not what we're going to be articulating may not resonate with the people we're speaking to. I'm not sure. I know, Japanese, you want to say something?
I think, just coming back to the topic, it's also setting realistic goals around it as well, right? Like, if it's a fear, set those goals on how you can accomplish it, and especially in a work setting, talk to your managers, talk to your peers on how they can help you along the way as well. It's something that's helped me get to this point as well. So again, really tying it back to goal setting and how to get over that fear, it's all very relatable. Break down that fear. What's the part that makes you nervous? Is it, for me, it's forgetting my train of thought. Saying something wrong. Well, how can I overcome that? Having notes prepared ahead of time, just as an example. Practicing. Are these things that you can easily implement? And I'm just using it in this example, but the same sort of idea applies to any scenario. It's really just going back to the why and the purpose and what you're hoping to achieve on the other end of it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Japanese. This has been a very interesting, conversation around this question, the setback and mindset. It's really essential when it comes to again, your makeup, your attitude, how you go ahead and achieve your goals. So we're going to keep it moving here, and again, we're still talking about things around setback, things around mindset, around your core belief, people you have around you. Now, my question for you, Japanese, and this one is really interesting because a lot of people face it. What should someone do if others around them aren't supportive of their goals?
Great question. So I'm going to frame it in two different ways. I think the first one, oftentimes others may not understand the goal. Which can lead to that lack of support. So in instances like this, especially depending on who that someone is, it's really important to show some grace and kindness to help them understand. It's also a great opportunity for you to talk to someone and talk them through the goal to help them understand. And they might also potentially be able to provide some insight along the way as well in terms of additional add-ons to the goal. The one thing I will say is that it's also important to remember that you don't necessarily need the support of others to move forward with your goal either. It's all about mindset. And I think the most important thing for you to know is again, the why of that goal and the purpose. And as long as you have that mindset where you're comfortable attaining it on your own, I'm not sure how much that additional support really matters. You can also, use that as sort of additional motivation to push through that goal and use it as extra fuel to achieve it, just because you don't have the support of others, so it might drive you a little bit more. And finally, I think it's also important in life to put yourself first. If the goal is really important to you, how much does the support of X individuals matter in the bigger picture? So I think it's, just bringing that energy back on you.
Well, this, it's really interesting. I love the part where you said, others may not necessarily understand your goal. And it's really important to know that, because too often we're seeking acceptance. We want people, you and your spouse, we want our family to really see the way we see it. Now, it's interesting because you're the vision. You're the one that sees the vision. It's your purpose, not anybody else's purpose. So if it's your purpose, you see differently. Now, if you work hard at your goal, and you're doing it consistently, eventually those around you will say, wait a minute, this thing you're doing, you know what? Oh, this is amazing. Actually, well, hey, welcome. Yeah, where have you been? But welcome. We appreciate you coming on board. So that's really interesting. And I just want to leave it open, because there are a few things I'd love to share around this topic, but I just want to leave it open to the rest of the panelists to see if anyone wants to chime in. Again, the question is around, when people around you are not supportive of your goals, what sort of advice you have for people on the call? Again, this is very common, and it's really one that results into pain for other people, even leading to people quitting what they're supposed to be focusing on that goal because they're not getting the support they thought they deserved.
Yeah, Ade, sometimes you have to get rid of them. Yeah. That's
Okay.
it.
Well, I mean, yeah, and it's interesting. Obviously, there are some people you can get rid of, and there's some people it's hard to get rid of. If they're your family, it's hard to get rid of. But I think to the point of get rid of them, I can resonate with that. I know often if you have to move a different direction, maybe you change your circle of friends. Maybe if you're in an environment where those circle of friends are not supportive of your goals, or they're laughing at you, then it's important to move on. Surround yourself with people that motivate you, people that inspire you. And that's why it's important to network. Whatever it is you're trying to achieve, whatever goal you have, be it to get a job somewhere, network with people in that industry, people in that space, people that are achieving in that area, learn from them. It's interesting how mentorship is a very, very interesting way to get ahead. Again, a lot of folks online, people love to share. Reach out to people on LinkedIn. They will be happy to be your mentor. The other ways that we've shared on this channel in the past is read books. Now, if you're not comfortable networking with people, following up with people, read books. There's so many books. That's free mentorship. You don't need to know the author personally, but they will share some great ideas that can help shape your life. For me, those are things I do. Networking is extremely important. So I think as we're wrapping up right now, we're here. I think there's a comment in the chat. I'm not sure if it's a question. I think it's a question. And this is a question: how can a perfectionist set and achieve his or our goals, especially considering the fact that they spend too much time trying to be perfect, to perfect one goal at a time? I know, Dr. Floyd, you spoke about the perfectionist or people being perfect. How do you, what's the response to that?
So it's important to develop a commitment strategy. The commitment strategy says, this is my goal. These are some of the possible obstacles. And these are going to be my response or my responses to these obstacles. And one of those could be, I have an accountability partner. I'm going to have somebody at my work. I'm going to have somebody in my family, whether it's spouse or a friend, to say, listen, if I say I'm going to do X and I don't do it by this time, I want you to check in with me on that. That's one way. Another way could be, okay, listen, I have to feed my family, so I have to act on this. Or if I don't act on this, I won't get the promotion, so I need to act on this. So develop a strategy. We call it a commitment strategy. But having an accountability partner is a significant move towards that.
Excellent. Well, thanks for sharing, Dr. Floyd. Having an accountability partner is extremely important because they keep you honest. I'm not sure if Chirag or Japanese wanted to add to the question. Okay. All right. Again, we're almost at the tail end here, and I just want to say a huge thank you to the panelists, to all our participants. But we're still going. We're not done yet. The final round, for the final round of questions, I'm just going to throw it out to the panelists. I'm going to start with you first, Chirag. Any key takeaways, any thoughts or key takeaways for the audience today? People can leave with.
I mean, everything else. I mean, there's a lot of key takeaways. So I'm not gonna list them on, because I personally, like I said, have learned a lot as well. I think one thing from a personal perspective, what I would say is just get started, right? Like, I think the most difficult part is get started and persevere with that process for some period of time, 3 months, 6 months, and just do that. So if there's anything you can take away from this session, that you have all the tools and the resources now to think about how you do that, but at least just get started. So that's where I'll end. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Chirag. And it's interesting that as you say, just get started, it's somewhat, response to the perfectionist question, because a perfectionist never gets started because they're busy trying to perfect everything, which is really important to, I believe the question was from Dotun. If you're perfectionist, the most important thing is just getting started. It doesn't have to be perfect. You work it out along the way, and eventually, as you grow, as you move ahead with your goal or the big audacious goal that you're trying to achieve, it all comes together. So thanks so much, Chirag. I'm gonna go to you next, Japanese. You've shared a lot today, and I took some notes, and I know from the beginning around writing the goals, breaking the goals, SMART goals, and some of the amazing things you have to share. And as you're closing out, I also want you to just bring in some of your experience when it comes to HR leadership as a director of people culture. How can folks on the call, what sort of key takeaways do you have for people on the call, especially those that may be looking to navigate their career, those that may be looking to get a new job or grow in their career, perhaps, and then put into the context what we talked about today around goal setting, mindset, and, overcoming those obstacles, procrastination, and all the setbacks.
Yeah, I think from a career perspective, don't be afraid to network. You are going to, LinkedIn is a powerful tool. That's how we connected today. Don't be afraid, reach out to individuals. There's going to be a lot of misses. You are going to have a lot of messages that you might send out that don't stick, but keep at it, because one of those likely will stick, and build your network, both your professional network and your personal network. I always say, especially when it comes to hiring, like, find someone that can do your job better than you, because then you have an opportunity to learn. You have an opportunity to grow, and that growth is really important. It also helps you with your purpose and the why, both from a professional setting and a personal setting, in my opinion. It really helps you continue that growth and fostering that change that we need in this ever-changing world. So definitely keep networking. And yeah, if anyone has questions or concerns, especially within the tech space, how to get started, I do have quite a bit of experience, so feel free to reach out. I do try to respond to most of my messages in a timely manner. I do procrastinate at times like Chirag, but yeah, please feel free to do that. And then from a goal standpoint, going back to today's topic, really the key is go back to your purpose. What are you trying to accomplish? And that purpose and the why is going to constantly evolve. My purpose from 2-3 years ago is very different to what I'm doing now. And that's okay. Embrace that change as well, because with change comes growth.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Japneet, and great share. Network, folks, network with Japneet. She's already, if you're looking to transition into IT, she's got a wealth of experience. She can help you, provide you with tips. Thank you so much, Japneet. And again, there's a lot to take away from this call today. We were really, really blessed to have you on the call. So last but not the least, we're going to give you the final takeaway, Dr. Floyd. Again, Dr. Floyd, considering your mindset guru, your mindset coach, and you talk to leaders and you help leaders help grow their organization, and now for me, one of the things I want to, in terms of takeaway, what takeaway do you want, for people on the call, participants on the call today, when we look at mindset and shaping your mindset such that you're able to achieve those audacious goals and you're able to overcome the setback, the difficulties that happen along the way. What are some of the key, again, and also keeping in mind everything we've talked about on the call today, what are your takeaways for participants on the call today?
Right. Now, done is better than perfect. Hang around people who can challenge you to grow. And finally, you've got to train your mind every day, because 80% of your success is your psychology, 20% is your strategy. Now, I sit in this chair speaking not as one who has it all together. I was born in a family where my parents couldn't read or write. We were dirt poor, walk without shoes. Things were pretty rough. And so even to this day, sometimes I find my mind playing games on me. Imposter syndrome. You're not good enough. So therefore, I have to make this an ongoing responsibility to every single day train my mind. And because the mindset is so important, if you don't program your mind, somebody else is going to program you. If you don't make a decision for yourself, somebody else will make one for you, and it may not be in your best interest. So it's very, very important for you to invest in yourself, take care of yourself, nurture your environment, and go get what's out there for you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Floyd, and thanks for sharing that story. That's very touching, very inspiring. Again, I just want to thank you for all the shared wisdom on the call today, and also want to thank all our participants, Chirag, Japneet. Thank you so much for your time today, and also I'd like to thank all our participants on the call today. We've learned a lot. We've learned about you have to be a different person to achieve your goals, to be able to achieve those goals that you set out. We've learned about SMART goals, writing them down, breaking them down, breaking your goals into those daily micro decisions, that purpose, that aligns with your purpose, having a growth mindset, being disciplined and, employing discipline and execution, review, refine your goals. There's a lot, we talk about training your mind on a daily basis, again, there's a lot to take away: networking, reading books, just having a commitment strategy, again, and having an accountability partner. A lot to take away. Just want to thank the panelists. Great session today, and the participants for joining. Olade Consulting, we're a management consulting firm. We specialize in IT professional services in the areas of staffing, training, and project delivery services. Our mandate is to connect IT professionals to opportunities within the industry and also to help individuals that are looking to transition into the fields of project management and business analysis. Again, the mandate for the roundtable is to create a unique platform where our IT professional community can network, share information, and present opportunity for career growth. Essentially, our mandate is to raise leaders, and we definitely hope today's roundtable has helped further that agenda. We do want to encourage you to connect with us on social media at Olade Consulting, one LinkedIn, one Instagram, one Facebook, and one Twitter. So on behalf of the entire Olade Consulting team, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. Again, it's a weekend, and we're grateful that you're able to join us for today's session. So I want to wish you a wonderful rest of your weekend. Stay safe, be well, and bye for now.